On February 19, 1942, over 110,000 Japanese Americans were told they would be leaving their homes and relocating to internment camps.
They would see signs put up on telephone poles telling them that they had 7 days in which to vacate their houses. And the experience for many of them was tragic, because they had to get rid of all of their household goods, pack away whatever valuables they might have had, sell their refrigerators, cars, farm equipment, tractors, all within 7 days.
Jane Blackwell was a child growing up in Northern California when her family received their notification.
First thing I remember was I had just turned 5, and my mom and my sister were hurrying to catch a train where all the other Japanese people were catching their train, and we went to this camp, and that's where they determined which camp you were going to be at.
Because both her mother and uncle were planning on renouncing their U.S. citizenship and returning to Japan after the war, Jane and her family were sent to Tule Lake in Newell, California, the camp for non-U.S. citizens.
I remember living in barracks. Also, there was a mess hall, because there were no kitchens in the barracks. It was just one room. It had nothing in it except beds. And it seems to me I remember a couch, but I'm not sure. I remember sleeping in the same bed with my sister.
One of the things that people speak about is the utter lack of privacy. So there were multiple families in barracks that were separated into apartments only by sheets hung on lines. Another sort of invasion of privacy was the Japanese Americans found very difficult to deal with was the public latrines. Just a very regimented life. Instead of having family meals together, they'd eat in the mess hall. Families broke down because fathers were no longer in a position of authority. They no longer fed and clothed their children. The government did. For many people, the thing that you hear about the most is the dust. Many camps were just built in desert areas, the most inaccessible, inhospitable parts of the United States.
It was all dirt, no greens at all.
After being released from the camps, people were expected to return to their previous lives.
The stories of returning home vary a lot. I think one of the great tragedies that we don't really know that much about is that so many people lost everything, their homes, their businesses, their ways of making a living.
Because Jane was so young in camp, she returned to society with a big future ahead of her, one that was very different from the one her family had expected before the camps.
I was amazed at all these, being able to go to the store and going to the movies, and but I don't remember having a hard time transitioning from one thing to the other. I kind of just flowed into it, I guess. My mother had decided at the very last minute that she was not going back to Japan, which angered her brother very much. He was, I remember him pounding on the door saying, "You need to come." And she said no, she wasn't going to come. So he caught the boat to Japan, and she stayed behind. And then I remember being on a train, and we were riding in the evening, and we were going through these towns, and that was the first time I ever saw neon lights lit up in signs, and I just thought that was the most beautiful thing. And this man that was not Japanese, that was riding on the train, got such a kick out of it, because, for a child to be that enthusiastic about neon signs, yeah. And we went to San Francisco, and my mother got things in order, and then we took a train to Chicago, and she made a life for us.
Like so many others, Jane went out to live out her life with happiness, but never forgot the events of her past.